Hello again. We are continuing on with the factor label method using the Packing Peanuts lab activity handout. Now we are finally on question number 5. What you are seeing right here is actually question number 4 where we left off just a moment ago. Alright, so question number 5 reads, how many dozen peanuts are there in each bag? And this question is basically a follow-up to question number 2. But since I don't have any information from question number 2 right here, I wanted us to take a look at how to solve question number 5 using the information from question number 2. So I'm actually going to start from scratch to show you how powerful the factor label method is when it comes to solving multi-part questions. I actually want to start by telling you or reminding you that the factor label method is a method that you can use in chemistry, but basically any other situation that requires converting from one unit to another. The factor label method is also sometimes called dimensional analysis. And I wanted to mention this just so that you are aware of the different names for the same method. And whether you call it dimensional analysis or factor label method, you are essentially using conversion factors to go from one unit to another. So let's go and solve question number 5. So how many dozen peanuts are there in each bag? So I'm going to start again with the green bag. And earlier on, we had shown that the green bag has a mass of 228.66 grams. And eventually, I want to get to dozen. So I like to, whenever I am solving one of these problems, is to start with the given information and to also make a note of where I want to go. So my end destination is to find the number of dozen peanuts I am dealing with. So between the given and the find, I have to utilize a series of conversion factors to lead me from one unit to another. So I'm going to set up my grid. So the first conversion factor I'm using is the one that links mass in grams to number of packing peanuts. So earlier on, I had noted that 5 green packing peanuts has a mass of 0.76 grams. So again, that is how I set it up. But since I am interested in finding out how many dozen packing peanuts there are, I'm going to continue my grid, and I know that in 1 dozen, I basically have 12 packing peanuts. All right, so I'm going through this a little bit faster this time just because you've seen this a lot already, but I want to take a moment just to show you how the units cancel out diagonally, which is what I want, and these also cancel out diagonally, leaving me with dozen, which is exactly what I want, since that's what I want to end with. So at this point, I am ready to plug this into my calculator to find my final answer. So I'm going to multiply everything across, so I have 228.66 times 5 times 1 divided by everything on the bottom, so I'm going to divide by 0.76, and then I divide also by 12. All right, so if I were to round that number, it is approximately 125 dozen. 125 dozen, and that is my final answer for the number of green packing peanuts there are in the starting bag. So I'm going to repeat this process now for the red bag of packing peanuts. I was given that earlier on for question number 2, the red bag had a mass of 116.76 grams. And I'm going to set up my grid. I know that 5 red packing peanuts have a mass of 0.30 grams. All right. So you can see here how I know that some of you, prior to learning this method, you used this step and actually figured out the mass of a single packing peanut, which is not bad at all, and then you divided the starting mass by the mass of 1 packing peanut and figure out the number of packing peanuts. That took a lot of work on your part, so this is where I want to show you the power of the factor label method is you don't have to do any work at the beginning, you just have to set it up and then use your calculator at the end. All right, so I'm going to continue now. So eventually I want to get to dozens. So I know that there are 12 packing peanuts in 1 dozen peanuts. So now my units cancel out, and again, I'm going to show it to you. The grams cancel out, the packing peanuts cancel out. I am left with dozen. At this point, I'm going to plug this into my calculator, and it's the same thing. I have 116.76. I multiply across by 5, and I multiply by 1. I get that as an answer, but I'm not done yet. I have to divide by everything on the bottom, so I'm divide by 0.3, and then I divide by 12. And that gives me an answer of about 162 dozen. 162 dozen. All right. So this number is a lot friendlier than saying the number of packing peanuts. So dozen is just a nicer common value used to describe pretty large numbers. So you can see how there are more red packing peanuts